very good afternoon to all of you. Hope you're having a nice day. If not, I'm sure it will get better after this webinar because of the overwhelming amount of knowledge you'll gain today on 2D animation. Animation has come a long way from highly caricaturish cartoons to ultra-realistic worlds. Everything comes under the umbrella of animation. It is the building block of every game you've spent hours on, playing and exploring in amazement. Through this webinar, we would like to give every gaming nerd like us an insight to the world of animation, the basics, and how to get started. Please welcome today's speaker, Mr. Apurv Bhardwaj, a proficient game developer, 2D animator, currently working with Singapore-based Maze Studio. During the entirety of the session, all of you are required to abide by the following rules. If you have any questions during the session, please use the raise hand feature and enable the chat option. You can type in your queries and our team will assist you in responding to them. If anyone creates any disturbance during the session, you will get removed from the meeting. Please welcome Apurv sir.
Hello guys. So yeah, today we'll be learning animation. So I thought like adding some animations to the slide won't be like very bad. So first of all, like who am I? I'm Apurv and I'm a game programmer. I'm right now working at Major Studio. I used to work at Hashtash, where I learned a lot of things. And I like most game developers start a kit. I love games, I love art, and I love music. In games, I mostly play like Destiny, Rainbow Six, and Rocket League. So today we'll be learning like these are the basic topics we'll be learning. So Unity animation UI, we'll be learning this in while we are actually studying the whole thing. So in the animation, we'll be learning like keyframe animations and the record features, the curves. I know that many people don't know how to use curves and haven't even like looked into that. So I wanted to explore that. And also we'll be learning like character animation using sprite animation and skeletal animation, 2D IK, etc. So, all right, let's get into it. So first, like what should you know is like basic Unity 3D. Like you should know what is Unity 3D. You should have like maybe not even completed a project, but just like try to make something. You should know the basic UI, and you should know like a little bit of scripting or visual scripting. Anything works. But like in this tutorial, I'll be mostly like teaching you in this C# one. But I think you can translate that pretty well in the visual scripting as well. So first animation we'll be studying is the keyframe animation. It's mostly like using like moving and rotating sprites that are in the environment or something, like where you don't have to change the sprite, where you don't have to like do any complex animation or something like just looping or making a cloud move or something. All right. So let's get right into it. First, yeah, this is like the basic scene that I've set up. Doesn't have anything right now, just like a player, which is called Khargosh, and which we won't be using in the keyframe one. We'll try to animate the clouds. So in this, like what we're trying to do is like first let's see the basic setup, right? What you need is a animation window, which comes in from here, window and animation here, and then the animator, which is here. All right. Now you click on the object that you want to animate. This thing we have clouds, the whole object, which contains like 4 cloud sub-object. Now let's animate the whole thing. We'll just click on the create button. What this will do is it'll prompt us to like make a animation clip. We'll make a folder because we're not savages. Anime. Cloud. Let's just call this clip cloud move. This clip is of the format .anim. Now that you see is when we create this cloud clip, right? It also creates a controller, a clouds controller automatically of the name of the game object. So when I go to this, it has also created, like this wasn't there. This has also been created automatically. And this is basically a controller component. And this is an animator component, and we'll be using the controller for this. Like it has already assigned it, so we don't need to worry about that. So yeah. Great. So maybe like we'll just move it from here to here. And maybe like give it a little bounce if you're feeling a little cheerful today. So what we're gonna do is like this you see is a timeline. In the animation, you see the timeline which shows you like what at what time do you want, like it kind of record keyframes. So like in what state the object is. So at that point basically. This is like a 60 frames timeline, and this is by default set at like 60 FPS also. So this is 1 second basically. So we'll go a little further. Maybe now very simple thing to do is we'll just record. This here is a record button. These are all like basic, like to you record, to go to the starting of the frame, to play the animation, go to next frame, go to end of frame. So we'll just record. Start from here, go to like 3 seconds maybe. And move this here. Now what this will do is in the starting, like it like actually captures the initial state. At the end, it captures the, like what we recorded. It doesn't capture anything in between, but it automatically translates from the starting position to the end position. Right. Okay. Yeah, maybe some people have like a little problem in animation sometimes because they don't have this package also. So first, I'd like you to make sure that you have these packages, 2D animation. All right. So you have, make sure you have 2D animation, and later on we'll be using 2D IK and PSD importer as well. These are three main packages we'll be needing in this for this whole tutorial to work. All right. So what are keyframes? Keyframes are basically like that. They store the state of the object in that time basically, and like it starts from here. But when we're looping this animation, you'll see that we see like a bit of jitter, like it appears automatically like that. So what we're gonna do? Record again. Oh, yeah. Well, wait, I'll show you something too. If we hit record here, and also let's get the other thing. So in this keyframe, we can see that like it's doing pretty fine. But if we like disable the preview, it automatically goes back to the transform it was before. So if you want to change the this is one of the drawbacks of keyframe animation basically. Like you cannot change the position of the whole thing. If you want to, like, there are ways you can make a empty game object and then put the clouds in there and maybe move this. So this doesn't have a animation or anything. Inside it has an animation. So this won't be effective. So if you want to move the whole clouds, now you have to do this. Instead of just moving the clouds, it's going to be, yeah, do that right now. So if I hit play now, in the game window, you see that it's a pretty smooth, like animation. It's not that bad. Now, yeah. So in the animator window, I'll try to explain like a little bit of what this is. So this is like a basic state machine of the whole animation. Now it created this clip, right? By just clicking in the create clip icon here. So this by default makes it the default clip that like plays at the starting. So this is the entry and this is a default arrow, the default transition basically. There are a few other things like if you want, like if you don't want any state to affect, if you just want to play an animation disregarding of the state, you can also do it from here, but we'll get into that maybe later. I actually I haven't used that like at all ever, because I don't think like you need that really, but maybe you can if you have some kind of special, you know, use case for it. So yeah. Yeah, so these are this is the properties tab basically. In this, when you recorded, right, it automatically created the proper property for like which we're trying to change. See, we can see how the X is changing just the time. So there's also one more drawback for keyframe, that if we use like, so let's say a rigid body. So what it should do technically is like it should fall down, right? It's using gravity, it should just fall down. But it won't do that. Now it's not actually doing that because we are manipulating the X value at all the times. We're not letting the rigid body even, you know, do its thing. Now let's see this property. Now in this add property, you can see like you can like manipulate many things, not just the transform. In the this is the transform of this object of clouds, rotation, scale, and position. Also, position is already there, so it's not showing. Then you can also like enable, disable components. This has a cloud view component script. So even this can be enabled and disabled from here in the animation itself. Then we also have like all the hierarchy elements, all the child elements that this object has. We can also manipulate those and their components as well. This is a pretty handy thing. Like if you just want to like move two clouds maybe. You can do that with this. Not instead of using this position, you can use like cloud for cloud 2 or cloud 3, whatever. So let's make this cloud a bit happy today. Which one is this? It's cloud 4, right? We're gonna add a little bit of a bounce to this. So scale. And now you see like it's a bit cluttered, right? This has positions and even cloud 4 and all that. So what we'll do is use this filter by selection. It'll just show us the one that we have selected. And let's use curves for this. So these are basically, let's click on X. So you can see here in the whole timeline, the X is 1 and it shows it here that X is 1, right? Now let's increase the scale bit, maybe here. Add a keyframe. This will add a keyframe icon. You can use that. And see now this is like expanding. The scale of it is too much. Like even moving it slightly moves it like 30, and so 60 scale is too much. What I'm gonna do is just make it 1.5 something. And there we that. Let's just switch back to it. Oh, wait. All right, whatever. It's not working as I expected. What I want to do is like this is a very large scale, 0 to 500 in just 1 unit. You don't want that. All right, it's not working correctly. It's all right. Now let's just add like frames in between. We'll give them some values. Let's just say also in a Y scale, 1.5. 0.4 maybe 6. I'm just randomly like doing anything just to give it a little bit of more, that the cloud is bouncing maybe. All right, let's play this and see how it looks. You see how that bounced, right? Yeah. That was basically keyframe animation, where you use the keyframes to like record the state of the object and like use it in a timeline, translate between these keyframes. Now, yeah. Now let's look at this. This is an add event icon, which actually is very handy if you want to like trigger some function or something in between the animation. Like at this point, make a change or something. So you're gonna, cloud has this cloud view, right? So in this, we see a function. I smell something. So this function is actually from this script. So I see something, and debug log is someone farted. Let's. Now it's not outputting here because we are just playing it right now from the animation clip. This is just a preview. Now if we try to play it, you see someone farted. Oh, someone farted again. That's one. Yeah. So that is like most of the keyframe animation, like basic keyframe animation, what we are going to be using it for. Like it will be like the for these elements only kind. Like where you have to rotate, maybe like you have to rotate the windmill or something, or maybe sway the trees a bit, something like that. Maybe move the cart, translate the cart. So next one is character animation. Yes. So character animation is basically just animating characters for the states that it will be in, like idle state and run state and jump state. So these states will have different animations and will translate through them according to like what the character is doing right now, if it's moving or something. For that you need a basic. Let me show you. Like a sequence of images. This is just one image which has a transparent background, and this is called an atlas or a sprite sheet. So in this sprite, we'll be using this sprite sheet to animate. But right now it's coming like in just one image, right? We can also have like different images in sequence. You can also use that, but we're going to use this one right now. So what we'll first do is we'll change the sprite mode to multiple. Then click on sprite writer. Apply. Now this has been already like I was working on this before, so this has been already edited. Let's do it again. It's like, and here you can like put in boxes and like define what all sprites will be using, like cut them out and all. So all the boxes will represent all the different kind of images. Like you see, these has been dissected, right? So this shows all the different boxes in different images here. Let me show you how I did this. This is a run. Let's do an idle one first. Same thing here. Multiple. Now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna slice it. Slicing it is basically like making boxes around these sprites. Do it by automatic. We can also do it by grid size, grid cell size or cell count. But for now, we'll just do automatic. We can change the pivot. Like in this, you see the pivot, the center point is in between. We can change that like even manually, or even like when you're doing it here from this. Do anything. For now, we'll just stick to center. And these methods are basically like when you click on slice, it will be deleting all the existing ones and making new slices. And in the smart one is if anything, any box is overlapping, then if any box is overlapping, then it removes that box and like makes a new box, and if it's not overlapping, it's not going to do anything to it. Safe is it keeps everything but makes more slices. For now, we'll just delete existing. Hit apply. For idle also, we see that it hasn't changed. That's very simple. Now what we have to do is we're gonna make this our main character. So in this, you can see that I'm using rigid body. And also there's a script which can be like using the translates of this object. So it will be a problem for us if we animate this object only, because animation is also trying to uh, change the transform, and also scripts and rigid body will also try to change the transform. So what we'll do is just make a empty object at what. We're going to select all the frames, the ideal one. Yes, we're just going to drag and drop it to the body. Now it will automatically prompt us to make an animation clip, right? Let's say push idle. Now you see the same thing happens. The animator has been created, and even the clip has been created in this way. And this is also technically like all animations are technically like used from like our keyframe animation, because we are just recording the keyframe, the state of that object, and just playing it like that. This is also like technically keyframe animations. In this, what we're doing different is we're just accessing the sprite component of the body, and we're changing that at every frame. Let's increase the size. This I did this right, but if we like disable the preview, it shows no sprites here. It's because we added it in the clip basically, not in the sprite editor. So what we're going to do is just make the first pose, and because it's hiding below the grass, I'll increase the order layer. All right. Maybe even increase the box collider a bit with the character. That's fine. Okay. So now if I hit play, we see the idle animation, all the frames like just playing. This is very simple. Now we don't want like it to be just static, right? If we like right now, if we hit play, just be static. For that we need a run animation also. That we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna make it to multiple, make the run animation to multiple. Just click on sprite editor, and maybe like we'll try to slice it by cell count. We need 12 columns. Yeah. So this is automatically sliced the whole image by just like in 12 parts. Hit apply. Now you're going to select all the run animation frames. Again, we're going to drag and drop it on the body. This has created a clip there and also moved it inside our animator window. Now to move from idle to run, let's make a transition. Now if we hit play, till it goes into run but never comes back because the transition has no either back point. But then here again, you'll see that that the animation goes from idle to run to idle to run and just looping there. And I'm not even doing anything. Now this is because we haven't given any conditions here. We haven't given like when should the idle animation go from idle to run. Yeah. So for this, we are going to go to the parameter tab here. Add a bool. Let's say run. Here we can see that this parameter gets added here. Right? So if this is true, then only go from idle to run. And same with this. If this is false, then only go from run to idle again. Let's test it out. Right now it's idle, right? I click on run, and the run animation is pretty easy, right? So it has a lag right now. Let's remove the lag for right now. This is something called has exit time. This means the animation will complete the whole cycle, then move to the next cycle. If we remove the has exit time, here, it will be much smoother. Like as soon as we click the run bool, it'll just switch in between the frames. Don't wait for the whole animation to end. So all right, we can do it the run animation by clicking from here, but that's of no use in a game, right? So what we'll be needing is like we have to access this run through our script. So I already have a script here. Go show you. So here I'm gonna let's just take the animator right now. I just added an animator and named it Khargosh animator. Right now, if this is my movement code, like if the X input is not 0, is negative or is positive, then we have some input, right? So yeah. So here we are just accessing our animator. Let me just do push animator dot set bool. So we added a bool parameter here. We can even add a float and then a trigger or anything and access that even. For right now, we just needed a bool, so I added a bool. So we're going to do set bool. For other things, there are set float, uh, set all the other things, set int and everything else. Syntax is just like take this name and pass the value. If there is an input, I want the run to be true. Yeah. Otherwise, the run can be false. Same thing, just we're just crossing the false. Let's see it now. Well, I think there's a. Oh yeah, I forgot to put the reference there. So you see an animator here, right? So you're gonna drag the body which has the animator. Just drag and drop it. This should work. See if you move it, it's just animating. One thing that is missing right now is if I'm moving to the right, it doesn't change its direction to the right. For that, I'm just simply going to take axis body. And I'm gonna just gonna like multiply the x the scale of x in a minus way. Good. So what this code is basically is just like if the input is negative, now our image is facing on the left by default, right? So if the input is negative, it just means that if we're pressing A or left arrow, so we just wanted to stay that way. So we're going to change the transform. This is the start scale. Start scale I just recorded at the start. So it's going to be the same basically at the start, which is facing left. Now, if this is positive, what we're going to do is we're just going to reverse the negate the x scale, which will make it right basically. Let's remove this event for right now. Someone's farting constantly. That was basically sprite animation. And now let's go to let's go to 2D IK animation. This is very interesting. I'll just disable this. For this, what we need is are those packages, the 2D IK package, 2D animation, 2D IK, and PSD importer. PSD importer helps a lot. It's not really needed, but if you have a PSD file, that's the character, it really helps. So I have a skeletal PSB file here. There's also a Photoshop file which has more details. So this is still a single file. Let's make it multiple. And let's click on character rec. This is very important character. Apply. And spread. Open the sprite vector. Now here we seeing like in this image, everything is like collected and all, but in this one, it's like basically dissected in different sections. Here we have to change to skinning editor. This changes like that. Let's see if it actually worked. Yeah. So yeah. So we're gonna start by creating bones. So we'll be creating bones to, make the character move in a more organic way, more like how a body moves. Like a torso is connected to the hands, and the elbow is then connected to the upper arm and all that. So we start. Let's just create a bone from the hip. And right click to end the chain. Now, if we want to like create the bones for hands, we can just do this. But right now, there's no relation between this chain and this chain. So even if I move the torso, it won't affect how the hands move. So what we'll do is we'll select the closest bone from the hands, and you'll see like there's a like a translucent connection from the yellow bone to the blue bone. We'll just trace the hand. Right click, next hand. For the legs too, we'll do the same. This is a simple bone structure. So right now, if I preview pose, you can see like how the bones will be affecting each other. Like if I move the upper arm, it'll move the forearm as well. And if I move the torso, it'll move the shoulders that's connected to. If I move the hip, everything will move because this is the root bone that is connected to everything. So let's now create geometry, auto geometry. So this, what it does is how the bones will be affecting the whole sprite, the vertices of the sprite basically. Let's just create generate for now. So what it does is it creates vertices, it divides the whole sprite into vertices basically. And the bones will like alter these vertices according to how they move. Now this is outline details. Now this is basically like how many vertices do you want on the outside, like from the outside? How much detail do you want basically? Subdivision is basically the same thing, just inside the whole thing. Like how many more subsections do you want in the vertices? See the most, but let's just stick to the lower end right now. That takes less processing power. So also, if you like forgot to click weights in here. Now, what is weights? Weights is basically how much the bones will influence. Like how much this bone will influence the head and the shoulder, and how much this bone will influence the shoulder. You can also just do it by clicking on weights and generating like this. It's very rough. If you forgot that, you can just generate all from here. All right, let's see now. Let's preview the pose now. Now you can see that the sprite moves with the bones, but we're seeing some like anomalies here. This is not good. That we will do, let's just say bone influence. Now bone influence is basically that only, how, like which bone influences this sprite. These are the sprite parts of the whole character. Just see this part, right? This part is being affected by the leg bone and the hip bones. We don't want the frog thingy to be affected by the leg bones, right? Let's just remove those. Let's just keep it. And this, the coat is getting influenced by this arm, which we don't want. We don't want the coat to be reacting to how the arm is moving. Okay. Here is also being influenced by all these things. We just wanted to stick it to the head. Right. The legs are fine. And it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. So let's see now. But first, what we need to do is, like, we need to do the weights again, auto weight thing again. Simply done. Now, if we try to move the arm, we see that the coat is not moving anymore. But in this, like, we see that there's some, like, we don't want this bone to influence a lot around here. Right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the weight. We're gonna use the weight slider. Yeah. So here we just have to click on the bone and select how much weight, basically how much do we want it to influence the sprite. We want the green one to influence it, but not that much. So let's just use it a little bit. It'll bounce back, but that's all right. What we do is, you see that it's not moving it that much now. I might have overdone it, so let's look that. What's that do? With weight brush. Now this is basically a brush, and we're just going to paint in, like, for the green, we're just going to paint how much, like, what parts do you want to influence by this form. Just increase the green a little bit here. I think that's fine for right now. It doesn't have to be perfect for right now. Let's hit apply. Now what we have to do is we have to import this thing into our scene. For that, we just have to, it's even simpler, we just have to drag and drop it inside the scene. And it automatically, like, brings in the whole rigged animation. All right, so here we can see that this is also moving in the same fashion. We can use it to animate. And yeah, like, to rotate, you just have to click on the, like, the pointy side, basically. This. And to move it, we have to click on the ball side of it, socket side, the joint side of it. So now we're gonna add IK to it. IK is basically inverse kinematic is a robotic term, like how it's calculating how humanoid or like or what is an organic movement basically. So we use this in animation as well to move the whole body structure organically. Let's just say IK manager. We'll add this to the skeletal, the main object. Just click on plus. Now these are three types of IK solvers. Now solvers are basically like endpoints where you like it makes our jobs like way easier. Basically, we just have to change the position of that element and not the bone structure, and the bone structure will follow automatically. So these are like three types. We're going to be using limb because limb is used mostly for like arms and legs and mostly like two bone structures. Chain, CCD, and fabric are mostly used in more than two bone structures, like a cloth or hair or something. What this will do is it will create a new object with a limb solver script. Say, right, solver. Now this needs an effector and a target. Now, every solver needs an effector basically, and it creates a target on its own. It used to be like a little bit different in the older versions. It used to have a target. A target used to be necessary, and you can create an effector. But it works the same ways. I don't see any big difference here. So when you click on the hand, the right hand, yeah, just gonna make an empty object, name it right. Just gonna drag and drop it. Now we're gonna click create tab. Now what we can do, wait, I did something wrong. Let's do it again. What I did is created a new object and named it right vector. Then I have to move it to the edge of the hand. Then I can drag and drop it, the vector. Now, if we move this, the whole bone structure that is attached to it will move pretty nicely. But this is this looks weird. This does not look organic in any way. So what is wrong here is we just need to tick the flip button. So flip the elbow basically. Now this is like way more organic movement for the right. We have to do this for the whole for all the arms and legs. This and also we have to make 4 limbs here because we have 4 hands and legs which will be moving separately, right? And for the uh, target. We have to flip this too. It's fine. Now the legs. Right. Edge. Leg for it. This is not. Oh, I didn't create the target, sir. Click effector, create target. I think this is fine. With the right leg as well. The object. This one is left, right? Left. Left. The edge. So now we have everything that we need here. Can move pretty easily. That too in the inspector itself. Sorry, in the scene itself. Don't have to animate it somewhere else. So now we'll be doing the same keyframe animation that we did. Let's just create a clip. And let's say right. Now I'll just hit record. Maybe 20 frames. Should be like this. Next. Changes something to this. This is not affecting properly to this because we haven't really put our work into detailing every sprite in the whole thing and making the bone influence in brush thing. That works for now. We don't have to. Right. Let's just copy this. Yeah, you can also like copy the whole keyframe just by selecting these, copying and pasting. So now if we hit play, you see that the she's dancing. This is not. Now I added the first frame at the end also to make it a loop. Now this is looping animation. So there you have it. You can animate the character like this. And also like we did in the sprite animation, we can add different states. We can add idle, we can add walk, we can add anything, and we can translate between them by using the parameters like triggering and bools and etc. Still anything left to talk? I don't think, I think we're done. That was all from my side. I hope you learned something today. And if you have any questions now, you can ask. Anyone has any questions? See any hand raises. I'm going to take it as a positive and think that I did a pretty good job explaining everything, that you don't have any doubts. I hope you enjoyed this session. This is pretty good. That's Michael. Devanshu, maybe you can take over now.
Thank you, Apur bhai, for the wonderful session.
No problem.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending the session. We'll mail you with the certificate and the recording link. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a setup, it's a setup, it's a setup. There's an oh, it's a setup, it's a setup, it's a setup. There's an oh, it's a setup, it's a setup.